So do you have any questions before we begin?
Not really, and I don't have any expectations or questions.
Perfect. So what we're going to do is the method session. That is the signature process of the Institute.
Okay.
And it's a very full, thorough process.
Okay.
So it goes through a lot of different ways of coming into looking at the self-limiting belief that is most prevalent right now.
Okay.
And the purpose of that is really so that we can niggle it out of the unconscious and bring it forward.
Okay.
And so we're going to do all of that with energy work and in mental body work. And of course, there could be some emotional body involved in that today. But often what happens is there'll be the emotional unraveling and even maybe physical aspects that are your own process in the integration.
Okay.
So that's one reason why it's good to have lots of water so you can continue just flushing that physical body as we go through. So feel free to drink and and prepare with tissues. Yeah, so you can drink at any time that you need to. For most of the session, I'll invite you to have your eyes closed, just so you're in your inner process. But also if you feel at any point that you need to open them or anything like that, there's no issue with that. What was I going to say? Oh, so what we're looking at is calling forward the prominent or dominant self-limiting belief at the root level. So looking as deeply as we can and then really going back to see where this was initiated. What lifetime this could have come from. So it could have been this lifetime. It could be a concurrent life. Any and all things are possible. So we'll just ask where the soul became rooted into that energy. And then we want to unravel it and we want to bring it back. So just basically the healing process, right, of removing the blocks to receiving love by opening to releasing this limiting belief so that our consciousness expands. I'll tell you as we go through everything you need to know. And I think that's all I need to say to begin. I will be reading from my script because it's a really thorough process. And I guess some people memorize this, but I'll be reading from my script. But I will be checking in with you, and I'm fairly used to feeling your energy. So I'll pause if we need anything, or you alert me if there's any reason to stop. So, all right. I'm just going to invite us to begin to breathe. And drop in and just invite yourself to get comfy. So we're now going to begin this pilgrimage through the dimensions of time and space to clear subconscious fear and return you to your true state, which is infinite consciousness. There are reasons that have brought you to this session, yet I do not need to know them. My role is to go beyond your fears to the root of the issue and to rewire your subconscious at the deepest level. Meeting and releasing subconscious fear is the way we return to balance. So on this journey we're about to take, where we are reprogramming your subtle anatomy and your neural pathways, we're allowing you to make a permanent shift from fear to love. I will guide you through this altered consciousness so that you are in the brainwave states that allow the deepest possible reprogramming. Take a deep breath in through your nose, letting it go out through your mouth. Opening to your heart as you set your intention for this session. And together we give the intention now to access your subtle anatomy and the subconscious in accordance with your highest good. The fear that is blocking access to your truth melts away with ease and grace. And we invite the support from the subtle realms to be with us now, to increase the power of this process. And so it is.
So it is.
Just taking a few more deep breaths, letting go of any tension in the body. Sinking more deeply into your seat. Just letting your breath find its own natural rhythm, maybe slightly lengthened, deepened. Inviting yourself to be here fully in this moment. For this next bit of time, there's nothing that you need to do. Everything you need resides in this space, and it is safe to be here. The world outside is packed away, and will await our return. Bringing your attention to the center of your chest. Feel, think, sense, or imagine that spark of light right at the center of your chest. Letting every breath in and every breath out spark that light, allowing it to begin to expand, filling up the whole of the heart space and the wholeness of your physical body. Out into the field around you. And into the whole of the room. The whole house. Filling up your entire block and neighborhood. All of your town. The whole state. The whole region. Letting your light fill up the whole country. All of North America. The whole northern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere, the whole world. All of the world illuminated by your light, your consciousness, as your light flows effortlessly with ease and grace. And with each breath, the light continues to grow. Open, expansive. Taking a deep breath in through the nose. Let it go out through the mouth. And from this place, we will journey to meet the subconscious fear. And as we clear it, trusting that you're safe and that I'm here to guide you every step of the way. I'm going to tune in now to your dominant negative self-belief stored in your subconscious. See what is here and then continue to go deeper until we arrive at the root. The first belief that comes forward is the fear of not knowing how to do it. And underneath that is the fear that I am not good enough, I'm not able to do it right. I cannot do what is expected of me right. The dominant negative self-belief is, I am afraid I will never do it right. I am afraid I can't give enough. Mm. So we're going to look at the archetype that is most associated with this dominant fear from the core archetypes. And the archetype associated with this fear is the archetype of the child. And in this context, the shadow of this archetype represents the fear of not being seen, not being able to be known and seen as herself, only seen as the extension of others and in relation to how they want her to be or what they want her to do. There is a lot of the good girl programming at war with the wild child who desires her freedom and the magical child who sees the beauty in all. And the wounding of this young child in feeling abandoned every time she is herself, every time her heart leads, she feels abandoned. And the light form of this archetype brings forward innocence. The child is the keeper or the invoker of innocence. And in this process, we're going to bring this wound into the light. This fear and shadow is ready to go. And so every step through this process will move it further and further out of the layers of the unconscious. We're going to support this process of releasing the fear through the subtle anatomy by integrative breath. And so we'll do the breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, but we're going to hold at the top, allowing that breath to magnetize and draw forward parts of these fear that are ready to release from your subtle anatomy. When you're ready, taking a deep breath in, filling up that belly as much as possible and hold and allowing that breath to draw. And as you're ready, letting it go out through the mouth. Good. Oh, beautiful. So as we go deeper into the subtle anatomy, we're going to check with the chakras to notice where this has been living in your programming and your new system. So this dominant fear of, I'm afraid I can't do it right. I'm afraid I can't do it enough, is located firstly in the base chakra. And so as we look through the lens of this fear, the base chakra is very small and constricted. The outside being a brown with a center of red. This might give an indication of how this fear might be impacting your health in that area of the body, the emotional well-being. The edges of the chakra are very armored, kind of crusted over the fear of opening up to more abandonment, more rejection. The energy is a bit sluggish. There's a holding within of the energy, so not wanting to let anything out that's going to be judged or rejected. And so the stagnation has a pulling in and a holding onto. This can be reflected in the body in a sense of slowness in choice, or a fear of making a wrong decision, the worry of upsetting others, and also with just a numbness in this base chakra area, maybe even around the yoni and the sexual organs. At the soul level, this constriction is keeping the fullness of presence of your truth from being embodied in your daily life. It has you almost living behind a veil of protection, of people not quite being able to see the fullness of who you are. Almost as if you flit in and out of focus for them. They can't quite catch you. They might say things like, you seem mysterious, or you're hard to get to know, or the fear of not knowing how to do it and do it right, connect with others, be involved in this life, be fully here, has kept your soul from landing in this life. And it's almost as if your tippy toes just skim the earth. But there's deep desire for the roots in your heels to fully land. The next chakra that this has a large impact on is the solar plexus. And so it too is almost shrunken in. And there is light that shines out from this center sun of your being, but the beam is much more narrow than what your capacity is. And you choose very pointedly where you will shine that, rather than trusting the ability to bathe the wholeness of the world in your light. this choice to keep the beam very narrow has the residual effect of you feeling sometimes like you don't know yourself. But it's simply that you have forgotten how to feel the wholeness of who you are. And in the throat chakra, what this has done is made a false bottom, almost like a trapdoor, that keeps truth from flowing with ease. And it becomes a little stuck and trapped in there, and there has to be a lot of work sometimes to get it out. Confusion about if it's right to share, what's enough of the truth to share. And also the belief coming up there that I can't share my truth right. I can't do it right. I can't speak right. Speaking's hard. In all of these chakras, we can just see that the forgetting of the fullness of who you are is what's prevalent. And so we're going to breathe into the chakras and invite them to just release. And because the base chakra is the first chakra, the root chakra, we'll envision that one. So as you imagine the breathing in, taking that air into the root, and we'll hold it there at that root chakra, letting that chakra receive nourishment, receive the remembrance, and then when you're ready, letting the air go. Good. And one more time, imagining drawing in that beautiful, the same red that's behind you in your swing. Draw that in with the breath into that base chakra. Good. Yes. 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 And feel that release. Yes. Good. Good. Yes. Restoring that chakra to presence. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Well done. So we're going to move to the instigating event now. So this will play just like a movie. I'll describe what I see, but you be conscious of what will play for you as well. Because of the way that this can work, we might see something different, and that's totally fine. I'll describe it like a movie of what I see in terms of where the energy got stuck in time and space, and we're going to call it home. We're going to reunite those parts. So there is a young woman standing in a field. And behind her are all the ages that she's been. She's about 13 right now. And there's the 12-year-old and so on until she's very, very young, representing all the times that she's come to this field because this is the only place that she feels she can be herself. She is simultaneously seeking space as well as hiding. She has such a desire to connect to her family, to the people in her life, and also a feeling of a complete inability to do it. In fact, she's often says to herself and is told by others how strange she is, how alien and foreign she seems, how in her small, simple town, she's too bright, too weird, too eclectic. She's has big dreams of seeing the world, even though at this time she doesn't know what that means. She's not been taught about the world, but she speaks of things that others don't understand. This feeling of not belonging, this desire to belong, keeps her constantly feeling disconnected and different, separate. She sees other girls able to easily be friends and laugh and play, and she doesn't know how to do that. Often at school, she's made fun of. Her clothes are more simple. Her family of farmers don't have the same luxuries that some of the other girls have. This just continues to amplify her feelings of difference. She's begun to live in fantasies in her head instead of the world around her. This seems to make her more clumsy and more confused, and continues to then allow others to tell her how she's not like them and she's not normal. The conflict in her system of desiring to be normal and knowing she's not normal creates this low hum of fear of being in this world and not knowing how to be in this world. And so as much as she desires that world to go out into and explore, she continues to shrink and shrink and shrink. Now she's an old woman standing in this same field, having never left, because she feared not knowing how to do the life right, because she felt not normal. And she's no longer trying to hide. Now she's trying to find what she lost. It's as if she buried her heart somewhere in that field and she can't find it anymore. And as she weeps over her lost life, she still hears the echoes from the world that she's not right, that she's not normal, that she hasn't done it the way she should have, that the way she lives is not right. And her confusion has continued to grow through her whole life. But she's ready to find that heart. So this is where the fear of not knowing how to do it right. I'm afraid I can't do it right. I'm afraid I can't do it enough. What's been so confusing to your soul is that it wasn't one traumatic event. It was simply the daily life of not feeling like everyone else. And the way that just stripped away that remembrance. And so you've been looking for the key as a big thing, but it's just much smaller and more subtle than that. So we support the release of this life from the subtle anatomy with integrated breath. Again, breathing in through your nose and filling that belly as much as possible. As you release this time, letting go with an audible sigh. feeling it ripple out through your whole field. Beautiful. And again, this time as you draw up, imagining breathing in your heart from the floor up. Letting go again with an audible. One more time, breathing in, fill up that nose, that belly, that chest. Hold it for as long as you can. Letting go when you're ready and return to your normal breath. Good. So I'm going to move deeper now into the multi-dimensions of time and space. So let yourself get even more comfortable. We're going to allow this aspect that's been frozen or stuck come back into presence here in this life. I invite you to notice that you're standing in front of a doorway. Notice the color, the size, and the shape. And as you're ready, walk towards it. Knock on the door to signal your readiness to go deeper. The door opens effortlessly, and you find yourself at the top of a stairwell leading down into the darkness. But you do not feel fear. In fact, you're curious, open. You walk down the stairs, feeling each step beneath your feet. Down, down, down until your feet touch the bottom of the stairs. You can feel the grit of the dirt floor beneath you. You take a few steps into the darkness, feeling that satisfying crunch of the dirt beneath your feet. You're open and curious. There's no fear as you know that you're completely guided. As you notice in front of you a vast stone wall and a doorway. And as you approach the door, it slides back, allowing you to enter. You walk through the door and you find yourself emerging into a vast pyramid, very open and empty. And at the apex of the pyramid, there is an opening, and light is streaming down, and it illuminates a stone altar in the middle of this sacred space. You walk towards it with curiosity and love, moving across the dirt floor. You make your way up the steps, heading to the stone altar. You run your hands over the worn, cool stone. And across the other side of the pyramid, walking towards you is a person. You instantly know that this is you from the lifetime we just identified. I'll describe this as I see it, but be conscious of your own experience as well. Walking towards you is the old woman, bent and stooped. She is flowing full of tears and looking at you with hope and desire as she shuffles her way to the altar. She hopes you have the answer. It's been so confusing and hard for her to not understand. She wants so much to find her heart. And as she looks into your eyes, she feels it for the first time in a very long time. And her shoulders shake with relief. It's like drinking water for her. She's felt so alone and confused, and now you are here. She's in awe of your beauty. She begins to smile and giggle. A giggle she hasn't had since she was a girl. She wants to dance. She grabs you by the arms and begins to swing you. My girl, you have it, our heart. Pulls you closer. She looks deep into your eyes. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And with this release, she's ready to merge into that heart. And she embraces you, begins to move into your own body. I'm going to be silent and allow that process of merging and completion. You can nod when it's complete. With lightness of step, you walk down from the altar and make your way back across the pyramid floor. And you arrive at another door. And as you approach the door, it opens before you with ease when you walk through it. You notice now that you're sitting opposite me. And we support the integration of this life event through the integrative breath. So again, breathing in through the nose, filling up that belly, Releasing with an audible sigh. Good. Twice more. Drawing in as much air as possible. Releasing it fully. Bring some gentle movement back into your toes and your fingers. When you're ready, I invite you to blink open your eyes, have some water, and share anything about the experience up to this point.
So yesterday morning, I did this visualization with the pyramid. And there was a pyramid on the bottom and a pyramid on the top. And when I found the stone altar, the middle where the pyramids joined expanded from the heart chakra. And I was nestled into the blue healing stones in the center of the circle. And that was yesterday. And today it just was the foundation for that beautiful integration of what I feel is many generations of women. And the specific one, it was my great-great-grandmother who lived in Wyoming. And my Aunt Marie, my grandmother's sister, lived on that ranch by herself her whole life after she was maybe 3 or 4 years old until she died. She died 4 years ago.
Wow.
And it was always a feeling of disconnect between her and her sisters. And she had had a twin that had died. So there was just so much disconnect between generations and between sisters and all the women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So amazing to hear your voice navigate that story.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really beautiful because it did not feel like it was one specific event or even that person. So it makes beautiful sense to see all that was there and all the healing that was happening.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so good. Ah. Okay, ready for some more?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So for the next section, you're welcome to keep your eyes open or closed, whatever feels right for you. What we're going to do is connect to the archetype from the ones that we work with in this in the method of the archetype that's here for you in terms of being your guide and who has the kind of activation to help you continue as this sphere is clear. And she will be your guide and support as you go through this process. Yeah, so let's just see who's here for you. So the archetype who is here for you is the wild woman. My beautiful Edy. let go of that worry and that serious side. Come dance with me. Come roll down the hill and play. I see those sparkles in your heart. It's time to let them out. There is no way to do your life wrong or right. It is simply your life to be lived. I am the wild woman who cackles. I am the wild woman who dances. You dance with light. You dance with color. You are the expression of my heart, and I delight in the beauty you bring to this world. And I have a mission for you. I have called you. I want your bold, beautiful dance. I want your sparkle and your heart. I want the fullness of your commitment. And I want you to yell with the wolves. You were made for the beauty of this world. And it is through the beauty that you create that you show what true wildness is. Yes, we cackle and act mad, but that is simply the fun. The wildness you are here to sow is the wildness of the roots that grow deep, the wildness of the water that flows fully, the wildness of the wings that beat. You have nothing to fear in being the bold you. For the more you stand firm upon this earth, the more strength and support you will receive. For I have never left you. I live within you, and I am always, always there. I unlock your voice, and I let the river flow through. You are a red daughter. Dance proudly, dear one, for we have much to show. So with this wild woman as your guide, you go into the next phase of your journey. So commune with her, meditate with her, paint her, let her paint you, and keep leaning into her unlocking that voice. When it feels like you can't do it, remember that you of your own self can do nothing, but the moment you connect to the divine, all is possible. And she is that specific divine aspect that can support that healing and that expansion for you. Yeah. So find your own flavors of wildness and let her guide you. It's so good.
So good.
So every moment of this work has been transforming this unmet subconscious fear stored in your cell anatomy, and as we've seen, the subtle anatomy of your lineage, and transmuting it with love. And so we've journeyed into the higher realms, and we've returned safely back to this one. And we're going to do one more final clear of the dominant fear of I am afraid I can't do it right. I am afraid I can't do it enough. And we'll do that through heart alchemy. So close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, going in with a sigh. Then allow yourself just to move into extended breath. So letting the breath be lengthened. Inviting the exhale to be longer than the inhale. And I want you to think of this unconscious fear that we uncovered. I am afraid I can't do it right. I am afraid I can't do it enough. And on the scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most intense, rate this fear right now.
2.
Amazing. All right, that's beautiful. So we actually don't need to bring that down. So we're going to go deeper and see if there's something else that's ready to come through that we can allow to be transmuted now. So is there something else that feels like it's a little bit deeper than this that would like to be brought forward?
That's the root.
Yeah.
That
So
there's
go ahead.
there's like a shell around me that even this it can get through.
Yeah.
But I reseal, like re-armor, I guess,
Yeah.
very quickly.
Yeah. And so what I'm seeing that as is just kind of the whole wound of unworthiness.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to invite is for you just to connect to that deep wound of unworthiness. If there's any specific words that want to come forward, you can voice them. If not, we can just stay with the wound of unworthiness or the fear that I am not worthy. We understand that that fear of I am unworthy is actually the fear that I am not God. I am not part of God. And for you, it feels like even partly the words might be, I am not loved by God. And so as you feel and amplify that, let's see if we can bring up that fear to the level of about 8. A really big clear on this. It's just amplifying it as much as you can, dropping right down into it. What does this fear or this wound feel like in your body?
It brings me to suicide.
Feels like when you have like one of those nerve pinches and it sends cold kind of weird shocks through the whole body. Yeah. Yeah. So placing your hand upon your heart, we're going to transmute this. You're so courageous for facing it and feeling it. And that is how we begin to let it flow and move through. And so we open to gratitude, appreciation. Invite you to maybe bring forward a memory. Maybe Goldie with her butterfly kite, or something that reminds you of the joy. I want you to really give yourself over to this joy, this gratitude. Maybe bringing it in as a color that you're breathing in. Letting it warm those nerve sensations of suicide and coldness. As you hold these feelings, I'm holding you. The infinite holds us both. I invite the center sunlight of the Shekinah to stream down upon you. To infiltrate every aspect of your heart. That wound of unworthiness is a normal aspect of our waking here and our disremembrance and feeling forgotten and disconnected from the source of who we are. As you breathe in this light, you feel the remembrance of the connection. Opening yourself to resting back in the arms of God, back in the light of the Shekinah. You've never been forgotten. You've never been left. Letting that shell melt to the earth. Allowing yourself, like a young planted tree, to feel the tethers and the support that have you anchored, so you don't need that shell. You have all of the tethering support, the scaffolding that you need. You don't have to hold yourself up or close yourself in, because you're so held, surrounded in so much light. Deep breath into the nose. Let it go through the mouth. Go ahead and look around for that emotion, that fear. Notice what number it is right now. When you find it, rate it.
Two.
Beautiful. Well done. Yeah. So you just rewired your unconscious to open to a new level of expansion. Yeah. And so we'll invite that to be supported. So over the next 7 days, the invitation will be to do the heart alchemy, shifting fear, or the micro method, whichever one you feel will serve you best. It could be this wound that comes forward, but you can also just allow yourself to be with whatever is on the surface that day. Just continuing to support this rewiring.
The heart alchemy, I use your guided one on Insight Timer.
Yeah.
And then the micro method is that Ricky James.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll send you a link. She has one on Insight Timer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, so they're both this process of just coming into the heart and expanding it. So whichever one is going to work for you is great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good. And of course, we remember that the physical body and the external world are the densest. And so the clearing takes the longest, right? So we've worked in the unconscious and in the energy realm and even the emotional realm, but the physical might take longer. So if it feels like things are flaring, it's not wrong. You didn't take a step back. It's just it's continuing to clear, right? Mm-hmm. So as you maybe experience things in the 3D, allowing yourself to trust that that's part of the release and the unraveling, and just to really not story and not have opinion and not going to disconnect observer, but just to sit right in it and trust that it's releasing, and even say to yourself, I let it go. Mm-hmm. I let it go. I don't need to react. I don't need to respond. I just allow it to move through. I allow the emotions to move through. I allow it all to go. Yeah. So good. Lots of water, of course. And yeah, that was really beautiful, and you were able to go very deep. So you might feel some tiredness today, or any of those kind of other kind of energy hangovers. So just lots of support for yourself and everything. And let me know if anything comes up that you want to talk about or anything like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So any other questions or anything that you'd like to share?
It's funny because the earthquakes have been helpful. I'm literally pulling everything off of the walls and pulling everything out of my closets and files into the center of my art studio. It looks like a bomb went off. Because I'm like, I need to just corral everything and then purge. I feel this need to do that.
Yeah.
And it's just really raw right now. And it's an interesting place in the expansion process, I feel like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it's really, in the 3D, you're now walking out what you've done in the energy space, which is to clear and make room for the new to move in and, to clean off those walls and clean out those drawers where we hide stuff.
Yeah.
Some of it's not even stuff we don't want to see, but we just don't know what to do with.
And then the earth is like, I will literally heave the shit on top of you if you don't get rid of it.
Choice. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a question that just came up. Let me see if I can get it back. Oh, I am not feeling so connected to Edy as artist. And that's interesting. And
Yeah. And normal, I think.
you think?
Absolutely, because I went through a period of several years, actually, where I was not connected to Elisha as dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's only been, it was probably about 3 years. And it wasn't that I didn't know myself in that way, but the drive for expression in that way had changed.
Mm-hmm.
And it has come back. And it's come back very different than it was, because what cleared was all of that need for validation and striving as my identity.
Yeah.
And so now Elisha as dancer is just such a simple integrated aspect of who I am, and not kind of, for me, I guess she was a mask that I led with in the world and the way that I felt comfortable being in the world. And I had to let her dissolve into my center.
That feels right. That feels like what is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what I feel is like I'm more in love with movement than I've ever been, because it's just so easy and just really simply for me. And I may make dances again. I know that I'm definitely going to get people moving,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so much of the shadow around striving to be something in that way died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because the man that has the place where I get my prints made is called Striving Artists.
That is so fucking good. Oh, that just made me so hot. Oh, so funny.
That's his
You
business.
cannot make this shit up. I'm going to go to Thriving Artist to get my prints done. Yep.
Yep, you are.
Yes, you are.
That's what you're doing.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So what I would say is just let Edy as artist go and simply arrive in Edy.
That's what I feel like is happening. And I'm being called into it every day.
Right? Yeah. Like, and you know, your desire of how you make may change, of course, right? And I think that's part of the evolution. You know, Carolyn May says you go from having a career to a vocation. And I even think that there's a third step, that we go from vocation into simply being our purpose, you know, and then we've cultivated along the way all of these ways we can express that purpose, but we're no longer in that place of identifying as those things, you know. And I feel that even in my teaching, I may still lead in my bio with, you know, being a teacher, but that used to mean having a job as a teacher, you know, and I've even just really begun to understand that that's not what that means. Like, I'm a teacher simply because that's just who I am. Like, I can't shut the fuck up. Like, there's no way to not be me in that way, you know? And so, yeah, we just simply, it just becomes easier to be who we are, and we don't have to have all the labels in the same way, you know? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh, good. All right, Lovey. I'll shoot you a follow-up email. I think you've got the links for the meditations, but I'll just include them.
Okay.
And I'll also include this recording. Excuse me. Throat clearing. Yeah, so I'll include this recording. You're welcome to watch it again if you want. You're welcome to download it. The recording will be active for about 2 weeks before I have to clear it out.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can download it if you want. If not, you can just watch it again if you want. And yeah, all for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And, have a beautiful day.
You too.
And I love you.
I love you too.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.